In this lesson, I'm going to be giving an overview of our Larry Jacob Internet Marketing Standard Give and Remove Access campaign. Before I go into this campaign in more detail, I'm going to be reviewing the tags that we use, and this is also going to cover a tagging standard that we've come up with that works very nicely for us, and it might be useful for you. So we have a tag category called Campaign Triggers, and there's nothing magical about this except that we always prefix these tags with the word trigger, meaning that these tags are only being used to start a campaign. What this also means is that every time we set these tags, the campaign that it triggers knows to turn it off so that the campaign can be triggered again the next time. Because remember, in Infusionsoft, tag goals only get fired or triggered when a tag goes from off to on. If it's already on and you reset it to on, it doesn't trigger anything. So we also then have a Memberium category. The Memberium category has level 1 and level 3. There's also a level 1. Let me see where that one went to. Okay, so it is in here, but it's not under the, it's not in order. So I'll go into the Memberium ones. Yeah, and there you have it. So these are all the tags. These are all the tags that we're going to be looking at as we go through this. So what we have here is a set of tag goals. Now, if I go over here, you'll see that I've created an internal form that can be used to very easily assign these tags to a contact, and that way you don't have to be so tag driven when you're managing. This is a nice option for customer service people that you really don't want to be getting into tags. So we've provided them this interface through the internal form so that they can either give or remove access to any one of the membership levels. Now, we've written these as tag goals so that not only can they be called from this internal form, but they can also be called from order forms, any shopping cart purchases, or any API purchases of those products. So we've tried to build these so that they're as versatile as possible. So let's look at the give access to level 1. Level 1 is the first membership level we have on the site. And what this does is it applies this tag. So this gives them access to level 1. Then we apply a send welcome message. And then throughout you'll see that we have notes in here, mainly for debug purposes, but it's always nice to be able to log what's going on so that after the fact it's not a mystery what happened. So that tag in there calls this one, which is called send welcome message. Now this is a little more complicated than you would expect because we've built this so that it can be used different ways. You can either have a single welcome message that's shared by each of the membership levels, or you can send out a unique welcome message for each one. So for level 1, you can say, hey, Mr. Beginner User, we're glad to have you on board. Here's your credentials. And then maybe level 3, that's a more advanced level, or just something different. You can come up and say, hey, Mr. Level 3 member, here's your credentials. And sometimes it's useful to have unique ones. Sometimes it's useful to have a common one that's sent out here. So this gets triggered. The first thing we do is we set a password. So this makes a call to an action set. We always prefer using an action set to set the password because that way it's in one single place in Infusionsoft. You don't have these send HTTP posts in many different places throughout your campaigns. And then if you move your website or if some change needs to happen, you have to look for all of those. So we keep it in one single place. I'm going to go over here and look at where this is present. And so we have our action sets. This is a legacy feature. If you're very new to Infusionsoft, you may not know that these exist, but we've got a set Memberium password. This right here is not set, just so that I'm not giving the world our API code or the code that corresponds to this. It's a security issue. But this would be your domain, so it could be members.yourdomain.com, and then there's an auto login syntax that we get from Memberium to set this. But for the purposes of this lesson, what I'm showing you is we're calling that. Then we're waiting 1 minute. We're purposely waiting a minute because sometimes Infusionsoft takes a little longer to do its job, and we want to make sure that Memberium has time to set the password before we take the next step, which is to send out the welcome message. And if Memberium hasn't had time to set the password, the welcome message will go out with a blank as the value in the membership password field. So that's the wait. Now this we're using as a switch. If you would like to have a common send message, then this trigger, which says trigger send common welcome message, gets set, and then all you have to do is extend through there. It will get set, and what then happens is this decision diamond will know to send everything to the common one. So if the contacts tag contains this send common welcome message, go to this sequence. Otherwise, go to this sequence. So if you go up here, all we're doing is sending out this message. Now, for the purposes of this lesson, I haven't modified these welcome messages. They're all exactly the same, but we like to send out a message, you know, you're welcome, your membership credentials have arrived. If you've named your membership levels with, you know, names unique to the programs, you can say, hey, welcome to program X. And then we say something like, thank you for signing up for our program. We really appreciate that. To access the membership contact, you can click here. Now, for the purposes of this lesson, I have also not included that link here. First of all, it's a security issue to put that in a video like this. So that is going to be a link that's unique to each Memberium membership site. In the Memberium admin panel, you'll see that. Now, one thing I do want to point out is if you are using auto logins, it's less secure than not using them. If someone were to gain access to both your user ID and your email address, they'd be able to log in as you, and there's no way to keep them out. So if, you know, maybe you've got compliance issues or there's a real high security need, you probably want to omit this. In this case, like for example, one problem here is even if you change your password, I can still use that auto login link to get in. So in any case, we're also sending them a link to the membership site. Right now I'm calling it www, but it could be that it's members.yourdomain.com. It could be that you're not using a login slug. So this has to be the location of where they go to log in. And then you have the email. And you always want to create a second field, a custom field where you store your Memberium password. You don't typically want to use the standard password field because Infusionsoft sometimes has some odd features related to that field, so don't do that. So I'm going to jump out of here. So this is the common welcome message. These other ones are exactly the same. We haven't done anything special. But we do have, if you are unique, this is a do nothing sequence. There's nothing in here, but it allows me to create a single diamond for connecting up these three. And what this does is if they had gotten a level 1 trigger, that's going to push them into welcome message number 1. Otherwise, it's welcome message number 2. And if we detect that it was triggered for level 3, we put them into that welcome message. And finally, regardless of whether you're coming in through here or through here, you're going to end up in this remove trigger. So what we've done, just in case we're adding a 1-minute delay, maybe it's a little paranoid on my part, but we want to make sure that this decision diamond has time to check that trigger tag before this one turns it off. So we just have a minute in here. There's really no harm done because all we're doing is removing the 3 trigger tags that were used to enter this campaign at the beginning. So it's these 3 tags. We want to make sure we remove those so that if you want to call this campaign again for that contact, it will definitely go on because the tag will be off and then can be set on to trigger the campaign. The last thing that's in here is we've got these 3 sequences. These are what can be called to remove access. So this is just another set of triggers. Triggers remove access level. These were immediately removing the trigger tag so that it can be called again. I'm sorry, I lied. We're removing this access level. And I do have a shortcoming here because what I really want to make sure we do is that we have a removal of the trigger tag so that this campaign can be called again. So I'm going to remove trigger tag number 1. We remove it here. There's the note just for documentation or debugging purposes. What do you know? I'm consistently doing it incorrectly. So let me just add these trigger tags in here. So we're going to remove that. Let me make sure. We have to remove this tag. That would have been a mistake. So we have 2 removes there. We have 2 removes here. And I'm sure I did it incorrectly here as well. So let me just move this over. We'll go like that. And this will be remove the level 3 trigger tag. So that does it. I'm going to go in here. We're going to do a publish. And we are ready to go.